Ann Arbor is already one of the safest cities in the state. Low violent crime, mostly property crime. So removing these signs, that's about aligning perception with reality. Now compare that to Detroit, where safety is tied to vacancy, lighting, economic conditions, whether buildings are occupied or empty. That's a completely different challenge. And so as a developer, I'll say this clearly. You don't build safe neighborhoods with signs. You build them with activity, investment, and people actually using the space. The safest neighborhoods I've ever seen are the ones with the most life, not the most warnings. Have you ever driven through a neighborhood, seen one of those neighborhood crime watch signs, and without even thinking about it, feel just a little safer? Like, okay, somebody is watching, right? Somebody's paying attention. Now imagine finding out that neighborhood crime watch system hasn't been active for over 15 years, right? That's exactly what's happening in Ann Arbor right now. 600 crime watch signs all coming down. And this might seem like a small story, but this is actually a big conversation about how cities define safety and how long they hold on to systems that don't work anymore.
There are signs almost everywhere we look. Here in Ann Arbor, there's 600 of these crime watch signs, and soon they're all coming down. It's a street sign many of us drive past almost every day, some of us without even noticing it.
To me, it sounds like the neighborhood is not being welcoming to the community.
But for Ann Arbor resident Matthew O'Mara, the neighborhood crime watch signs posted all over the city, including the one on his own street, feel outdated.
Most people don't even notice these signs anymore, which means they've become background noise. Once something becomes invisible, it stops being effective. It's no longer shaping behavior, it's just there.
They seemed like they were coming out of the tough on crime sort of 1990s view of what it means to be safe in the neighborhood.
Now that's a powerful statement because safety in the 1990s was very different. It was about watching your neighbors, reporting suspicious activity, being reactive, whereas today we've shifted towards data, real-time communication, environmental design, right? This is a generational shift in how we think about safety.
The National Crime Watch program itself is no longer active.
Please listen carefully as our options have changed.
When I tried calling the local Ann Arbor hotline, not only did it send me through a few prompts.
For the Neighborhood Watch Weekly Crime Bulletin update, press 2.
Hello, this is the Neighborhood Watch Crime Bulletin for October 12, 2010.
This bulletin's over 15 years out of date.
Now this right here is the real story, a system that hasn't been updated in over a decade, right? And yet the phone number still answers, but yet it's a bulletin from 2010, which is insane. But the signs are everywhere still, right? This is what I call a ghost system, and cities are full of these. Infrastructure that signals something is happening when nothing is actually happening behind the scenes.
I appreciate the value of safety in the neighborhood. I think that's very important. My daughter's in middle school, and I want to see this be a really safe neighborhood for her. But for me, these sort of signs are not about safety, and they're more about exclusion.
This is where the conversation gets deeper, right? Because signage isn't neutral. A neighborhood watch sign can mean this is a safe community, but it also can mean you're being watched here. And depending on who you are, that hits very differently.
So, O'Mara took his concerns to City Council member Jen Iyer. The whole pole doesn't have to come down, it's just the sign.
It's just the sign, just this part.
And on Monday, City Council passed a resolution to remove all 600 of the signs across Ann Arbor.
The thing about the neighborhood watch signs is that, number one, they don't reduce crime. Studies show that they can actually encourage a culture of fear and suspicion.
So 600 signs across the city of about 120,000 people, that's a pretty significant footprint. But Ann Arbor already has one of the lowest crime rates in Michigan. Violent crime is around 2 per 1,000 residents. Compare that to Detroit, where the number can be 10 times higher, right? So this decision isn't happening in a high crime environment. It's happening in a city that already feels relatively safe. But let's talk about her claim about these signs not reducing crime and potentially even creating a culture of fear. Honestly, that makes sense when you think about it, because if your only message is watch out for crime, you're reinforcing fear, not necessarily preventing crime.
Some residents believe taking down the signs is a good idea.
Very new information, but I think it's probably, like I said, better to have them down if there's not anything actually behind them.
Instead, Iyer says what does help prevent crime is investing in better communication. Ann Arbor Police recently implementing a crime dashboard
that gives residents data, really up-to-date numbers when it comes to incidents in our community.
Cities are evolving from watch-based systems to information-based systems. But here's the challenge. Information does not automatically equal trust. It doesn't automatically make people safe. Now, this real-time crime dashboard is a modern layer, right? Instead of relying on a sign, you're relying on data. And this is a major shift in how cities operate. But here's my question. Does data make people feel safer or just more informed? Because those are two different outcomes.
And as the signs start coming down, O'Mara says he's relieved.
And I feel like this is sort of something that other communities in Michigan and beyond could also do as well.
And I'm told the city has already started taking down some of these signs. They should all be gone by midsummer.
Now let's zoom out for a second, because this story in Ann Arbor is really about something bigger. Ann Arbor is already one of the safest cities in the state. Low violent crime, mostly property crime. So removing these signs, that's about aligning perception with reality. Now compare that to Detroit, where safety is tied to vacancy, lighting, economic conditions, whether buildings are occupied or empty. That's a completely different challenge. And so as a developer, I'll say this clearly. You don't build safe neighborhoods with signs. You build them with activity, investment, and people actually using the space. The safest neighborhoods I've ever seen are the ones with the most life, not the most warnings. So Ann Arbor can remove these 600 signs and still be safe. That's a privilege. Other cities don't have that luxury. So the real question that we need to ask ourselves, are we building systems that actually work, or are we holding on to symbols that just make us feel better? Because that difference, well, that's the difference between perception and reality. Thanks for listening to me ramble. Would love to know your thoughts in the comment section below. I do have a Patreon community, and that's where I share a little bit more of a low-level vantage point of real estate development, entrepreneurship, and it is free to join. So I would love to see you over in that community as well, but I'll see you in the next video.